2, drink water. Don't drink and drive.
Game over!
Take it light. Okay.
Now you're more fluent.
Makina, he's got 3!
Up, Bears. So this is really good right here. Absolutely. Let's do it.
Good evening, hockey fans. Hope we're doing well this evening. We are back for another episode of Leafs Unfiltered for Wednesday, October 2nd. Yeah, we have entered October, which means that hockey season is here upon us on the horizon. Caroline, how we doing?
Counting down those days till October 9th, but it does feel like it's here, October.
A week tonight.
I think it dipped below 10 degrees tonight on my evening walk. It's pretty cold.
It definitely shot down pretty quickly because the early afternoon was still pretty warm. At least you could be outside with shorts if you were so inclined. But after about 4 or 5 o'clock, you could not. Nope.
No.
Winter is here.
Exactly. I have a good built-in litmus test. My dog is from Bahamas. So she's not experienced the full throttle Canadian winter yet. She kind of arrived like end of April last year, sort of right in time for emotional support during the playoffs.
She went
out today. She went out and looked around, sniffed the ground, and just turned right back in. So that's how I knew it was cold. It's only going to get worse. You're going to have to get her
those little paw gloves that they have. You know, she's already going to be asking for it. It's 10 degrees. I got to get my paw warmers out here.
I tried to tell her, like, this is fine, Paisley. Like, you wait. This is good stuff. But nope, she was not having it. And that's how I know it's the first cold night.
Yeah. But as we said, it's a good sign that hockey is coming. Opener not too far away, as I said, week from today. So very excited about that. We'll obviously tee that up during this episode, but also a lot has happened since we were last live. Obviously, 2 preseason games, both against the Montreal Canadiens, both ending in wins for the good guys, which was good to see.
Yeah, we've been loving beating Montreal this year so far. We've been
I think we've now
4-0.
We've had their number. We've won 9 of the last, I think, 10 meetings. They beat us in one preseason game last year, but combined preseason and regular, 9 of the last 10. So you could say we own them. I don't know if Canadian fans would necessarily agree because they probably tell you about all the cups they won way back when, but for right now,
find something like that to say.
Yeah, something that hasn't happened in a while they would bring up, I bet.
Probably the most recent losses or string of losses that we've had against them were in that playoff series.
Yeah. I think they will definitely remind us of that whenever it's brought up, or not like it has to get brought up. They will definitely volunteer the reminder.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think pretty much guarantee that the biggest takeaway from, I'd say, both games was obviously the unfortunate injury to Patrik Laine. And then I don't know how much you've kind of, if you were as unfortunate as myself to just get the exposure to all the incessant crying and whining from the Habs fan base on how could this career AHLer, absolute plug of a hockey player, Cedric Pare, intentionally injure the newest superstar to don the jersey of the Montreal Canadiens. And the conclusion they drew was, if he isn't in jail, I don't know what the NHL is doing. That was not like, and that's not even that much of an exaggeration. Like, perhaps my timeline is a little bit polluted and maybe I've got to attempt to clean it up. But
you are definitely targeted by non-Leaf Canadian fans. Yes.
Yeah, totally. But it was like, it was tough to hear. And then, not to kind of leave the subjects, I think we want to kind of talk more about it. But then obviously full circle game last night, preseason Montreal and Ottawa, Xhekaj, who was like everyone's, he's just doing what he needs to do. He's protecting his player. It was okay that he jumped Pare and maybe came within 2 inches of landing a haymaker to the back of Pare's head, that who knows what could have happened to Pare as far as the damage. Everyone's like, well, yeah, that's the hockey code, you know? You injure a superstar, you get your ass beat. And I'm like,
I don't think anybody follows that code in preseason. Habs fans.
Even argue like I get it. Like that's kind of how like people grown up watching hockey, playing hockey. That's kind of what everyone has always said. And it seems to just be applicable to the sport of hockey, because certainly not finding that in, you know, you would argue the most physical sport, football. You don't get the same level of, oh, you injured or took out the knee of our star wide receiver. Now, hey, it's kind of like, yeah, it's the nature of the game. Unfortunate. I'm going to give you the benefit of doubt. You didn't mean to tear his ACL. But in hockey, it's almost like we ignore the fact that, well, it was a hockey play, unintentional, but we ignore that. It's like, no, he's got to get his ass beat. He's either got to be willing to fight Xhekaj in this case, or he just has to take the abuse. And it's like, yeah, I don't subscribe to that belief. And it doesn't sound like you do either. Or do you think it's just a preseason thing?
No, I don't think it's I think that retaliating when one of your stars gets like intentionally injured or is intentionally kind of put against the boards, like thrown into the, I think that's fair. What I don't think has been fair from this incident is that I don't think Pare really went for a dirty hit against Laine. Again, never played hockey, but I can see a lot of where people are coming from. Laine goes in with the really wide legs.
Yep.
He's maybe you can talk people through what exactly happened if you think it's important.
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of got it off to the right start. It's like obviously what Laine was doing. He kind of had a wide stance, and look, as a skilled player, he has every right to try and find that crease, to find that gap in between two defenders, like he was trying to do. But it was a very risky play.
Totally.
I'm not saying he shouldn't have done it. I mean, but it just, when you try to cut between two guys, I forget who the other defender was on that play that was close to Laine, but two guys who were bigger than Laine. Mm-hmm. And yes, like there was a lot of like images, still shots of like, obviously they've given you like within the obviously split second that the injury happened, they've slowed it down and they give you like all the different angles. And Cedric Pare, you can see the leg does get extended, but I think that's more just a hockey player reacting to the likelihood of probably him finding out that player is about to get behind him. And if he does, and he scores a goal, that might be the last time I ever play hockey, right? Like an opportunity for a guy like Pare is that easy to lose if you're not defending the right way, you're letting a guy go. So he did what I think most players in his position would do. He's like, I'm not going to be able to get over, like kind of to be able to like square Laine up and hit him with a shoulder or whatever. The only way I can prevent him from getting by me is to try to extend my leg a little bit and maybe obstruct him, or, have him go a different way that maybe doesn't get him to my goal, to the net. So I didn't think it was intentional. I think most rational people, whether you're a hockey fan or not, I don't think you could view it as being intentional. But Cedric Pare is kind of getting all these, all these kind of criticisms and blame because of who he is. Like, it's like, well, clearly Cedric Pare, not an NHLer, clearly his only reason to be on the ice was to injure the Montreal Canadiens superstar. So I just find that narrative tough.
Superstar is a word that we're using loosely here. He may have been a superstar like 7 seasons ago. He is not currently a superstar. Not to say not to say that any player should be injured, but like I think that any conversation of intent on Pare's side here, or like the narrative that Habs, like the Leafs are going out to hurt Habs before the season starts, like let's put that one right to bed. We've
Right.
beaten you 9 of 10 last times. Like, we're not out for your blood. Um, and yeah, like this guy's an AHL player. He's probably just catching up to the NHL style of play. I don't
Yep.
think he's looking to hurt Laine I do feel bad for Laine. Like, I think
For
if we
sure.
had a conversation about this, I would have put this like on a bingo card. Like, Laine gets injured early on. Like,
Yeah.
that
I'm
was
sure a few
inevitable,
of us would have.
probably, in
Yeah.
retrospect.
Yeah,
Something like this.
absolutely. Like, and he has a habit of that, right? Like, if you look at
Yes,
some
he
of the
does.
injuries he's had, he's a guy who skates into the offensive zone with his head down. Not exactly the best way to ensure you play 82 games in the NHL. Again, like, it's not, I don't think either of us are obviously putting any kind of blame on him, but the idea
No.
that he was targeted or anything, and I
Yeah,
also kind of take
that's
issue with the whole, like, well, we got to make a big deal about it because Cedric Pare clearly tried to injure because we said he's not even a superstar, but like a top player. Like, should that even make a difference? Like, if
no, I
Pare
don't
did
think it
that
should.
to an AHL player playing in the Canadiens lineup that night, would we be like, well, okay, AHL player knocks out an AHL player, who cares? It feels like
The
it's like Canadian fans are saying he did it to Laine. Like, that's clearly intentional, trying to like give the Leafs an advantage.
They
Really?
do sound like they're
Really?
saying that. You're completely right. I think the only time some argument like that could be valid, a team lamenting that another team's going after their star player, is in the playoffs. I think that's fair.
For sure. Yeah, that's when
Um,
you'd be getting an advantage if you did that. Yep.
yeah. But like again, I don't know. Sure, players in the regular season going after star players, that happens. But like there is going to be there's going to be things that come out of this, whether it's in playoffs, regular season, if
Oh, yeah.
it's like a legitimate intent to hurt, dirty hit. Not saying that it was with Pere.
Right.
um but no, I think like the idea that a player's dirty, wants to hurt somebody, like I think that'll come out more in the playoffs. I don't know how much this actually is
Yeah.
is real in real life during the regular season.
Yeah. And I think seeing a comment from James here. Appreciate you watching us here, James. Revo Y-Fight opening night is his question. I would say that's probably a certainty, especially because even after the game last night where Arbor Xhekaj Wi-Fi, he had a quite the collision, the aggressive hit on Tim Stützle from Ottawa. So back-to-back games, the guy got thrown out, game misconduct, and the NHL decided they gave him a fine for the Pare incident, a max fine, which is kind of like taking like 30K or something, 38K or something.
No, it was like
Is that what
33.
33,000? Yeah.
That seems high. Like I thought it was 33 or 13. Anyway.
Or was it yeah, like
1,300.
it was the maximum allowable fine, but
Is
yeah,
it
it
maybe?
didn't seem like a very large amount that would actually do anything. And I think that's kind of where the NHL Department of Safety has gotten all this flack over the last few years because
Yeah.
they've done a lot of these. Well, yeah, we're going to hit the guy with the fine, but no suspension. And it just seems very inconsistent. Some guys get 5 games, like a Morgan Riley. I think it was 5, and then maybe reduced to 4.
Wow. Yep.
And then, yeah, like obviously that whole incident was brought up because it
That
was
was
like, oh, so Leaf fans think that Xhekaj should get suspended for going after Pare, but when Riley went after Greg for the empty net clapper, they were like, yeah, he deserved it. You don't show up a team. So it's like, yeah, all the back and forth. I don't think we even want to go any deeper into it because most of it is just typical hockey fans and just kind of yapping to yap. But yeah, there was no suspension on Xhekaj for either of those 2 incidences, and it seems a little bit of a miss to me because you're basically saying what you did to Pare. Yeah, that's kind of hockey code. You deserve to do whatever you wanted to him because he, accidentally had his foot extended and Laine crashed into it. So yeah, you want to, I know he has gloves on is what a lot of fans are saying to defend it. Well, he kept his gloves on. Right, because a glove-on punch to the back of someone's skull could not do any damage. Clearly
Zero
not.
damage. No.
Like, have we not learned anything about headshots and concussions? And, like, they were still like, well, he probably wouldn't have done anything. Yeah, he probably would have if he landed them good. Yeah.
We've learned CTE in the last 5 years. We've learned concussions since Lindros has been in the league. Unfortunately.
Yeah, no kidding. And then all the NFL kind of players that have been diagnosed well after their career. So, I mean, it's like, yeah, it's more obviously the ignorant side of the debate where they're like, yeah, anything that he did to Pare was well-deserved. But like my point, I guess, is like, but the NHL is basically almost saying they agree that, yeah, it was not really much ado. It was kind of much ado about nothing. That's kind of a hockey retaliation. Move on.
Yeah. I think he got a game misconduct last night after the hit on Stützle. Like it was, I think he was ejected from the rest of the game. Yeah, but you're right. No suspension, the fine, the max that could be allowed within these conditions. Yeah, it's kind of like it's like a little slap on the wrist. But you know what it's done is with these 2 back-to-back incidents, he is now like a repeat offender. He's known. There's going to be flags on him this season. Even if he didn't get suspended, like he's been morally sort of condemned. Let's call that.
Yeah, and I always kind of mock when I hear that, like, well, yeah, now he's in their book. They're,
you're right. That's bad. That's intangible.
but it almost seems like, but how many times can you get just your name in the book before you actually get like a severe penalty? Like Xhekaj just whatever it was 4 days earlier. The Pare incident, they obviously reviewed the tape, said, no suspension. Then he does something, you could say on par, depending. If you're a Sens fan, you'd probably say it's a lot worse. If you're a Leaf fan, you'd say it's not worse. But 2 of those were both reviewed, and they already had the discussion from the incident against Pare to say, well, look, like, maybe we should have given him something for the Pare abuse, but we didn't. But now he's done something pretty bad again. We got to do something now, right? So like, I guess to what you brought up, like, they've put his name in the book once and now twice. Yeah. So does that mean 3rd time's a charm? If he does it a 3rd time, no, we're just going to write it in black ink this time.
It's not going to be penciled in because it's preseason.
That's right.
I think you're right. Like this whole system, black ink, pencil ink, slap on the wrist, it should probably go. Like we definitely see a different style of officiating come playoffs where like either everything's called one game or then nothing's called the next game, or like anytime a goaltender touches the puck, like, there's so much inconsistency in the playoffs. And I think my point is that I think we should probably move to a more transparent, consistent rule book, regular season and playoffs. But it's really hard to determine, like, why does this guy, after 2 bad, incidences, what is it? Is the 3rd one actually deserving of a thing, or is it just that the 2 have piled up? To your point,
right? Yep,
it's very
good point
confusing.
too. Yeah, because you basically are saying like, the call that the on-ice officials made, like, took care of it. Like, they basically got him out of the game. So that's all he needed to receive as far as a punishment. But for him and for players like Xhekaj, who are mostly there to be a physical presence and protect the skilled players, he's going to be like, the next time anything happens where he feels he has to defend someone, okay, I know what I can do, and I know that the punishment won't really be that severe. I might just get thrown out of the game, but that's probably worth 2-handing a guy in the face or giving a guy a shot in the back of the head when he's, as he's trying to skate away from me. So, I guess don't want to dwell on it really any more than that. But just kind of, and I think when you try and say like, well, I don't know what it takes to get a suspension now, people will label you as soft, like, oh, you're too soft. Like, like Xhekaj, he deserved to go after him. If it was the same situation, shoe on the other foot, that happens to Marner or Matthews, you would want Ryan Reeves to do the exact same thing. And it's like, probably. But if he smacked the guy in the back of the head and basically tried to shove his head into the ice, I wouldn't be shocked if he got suspended. I would actually think it's deserved. Like, I thought Morgan Riley, when it happened, I'm like, yeah, that cool that he tried to go after him.
Totally.
But I'm like,
I didn't even think it was
gone.
Cool.
He's gone
and
for
that
a
was
couple
like
games.
That was like end of the season too. Right? That was like either right before
like
playoffs or
like probably the middle of the
All-Star
season,
break?
maybe a little bit past halfway. No, and what I mean, I was glad he went after him. He shouldn't have obviously done the two-hand stick to the face.
No, that was so weird.
To me, I would have just like bear hugged the guy or hit him against the boards or dragged him to the ice and then, had some choice words for him. The stick, that can never be a weapon of choice.
No, I agree. I guess one thing this conversation boils down to is there's probably a different rule book for preseason, and then we've seen a different rule book for postseason. And it's kind of like, just for fans' awareness, for players' awareness, maybe we should use the same book season long.
Yeah.
But we know we never will. We never will.
No, because
there's intangibles. There's the NHL.
Yeah, totally. Like, the rule book is out there. So I think everyone, when any of these things happen, they go by, well, here's what the book says. But it's not like the ruling is always going to be based on objectivity. It can't be, because you have eyes looking at it. They're going to interpret it. Well, I get what the rule is saying, but I'm not sure this is really an example of that, right? Like, I'm not sure he's demonstrating Rule 17B that says if you shall hit a guy in this situation or inflict certain damage on such player, you get 4 games. Like, it can't be that specific. So there's still going to be a decision-making process where, I don't know if George Peros is in a room by himself reviewing the tape and he walks out and he hands the suspension card in, or if they actually have a process of, a collection of individuals all saying, here's what I think it should be. And they kind of brainstorm and then arrive at sort of a consensus. But either way, it's going to be subjective, which I think fans have to accept. But when the punishment does not fit the crime, you're like, well, what are you guys reviewing or evaluating exactly? Like, it seems disconnected.
And I'm sure you remember examples. I think last playoffs, there would be an incident that happens, and then there's a ruling that goes down the next day. And the team that had the injured player is kind of like withholding information about how injured the player is, or putting out reports that they're really injured as though to sway the hearing that's going to happen. And that's maybe something that we should use as like official review, but like, we can't have the other team, controlling the results of the official review.
Right.
Like, it needs to be an independent party. This person was concussed. This person has a clear knee injury, and that could lead to suspension terms. But until we get there, it's so gray.
We're so far away from that. And I feel like if I'll probably like wrap it up after this, because people are probably like, okay, we get it. Here's a Leaf fan complaining about Xhekaj. But like, if he would have landed, like, I don't know if you saw the actual like footage of, there's one like absolute haymaker that Wi-Fi was about to land. He missed by like maybe an inch. If he lands that, and let's just say Pare ends up in the hospital, the whole conversation is different. Then I would hope even your most biased of Montreal Canadian fans would then say, okay, maybe you got to suspend him. So I hate the fact that unless the guy is injured, that it's part of the hockey code. Move on, guys. There's nothing more to see here. Pare is still fine. Nothing to see here. But I would hope the Department of Safety would be looking at it like, did you see what he tried to do? And like, even with the Riley, like, Greg was obviously okay. But how about if he, like, I don't know, broke his jaw or something on that, Riley, then of course, I think they would probably say, oh, we got to suspend him even more. So I just hate that you need to be injured
you're
to
right.
actually result in a big suspension.
No, yeah, that's so bad because it could have gone a millimeter either way, and that changes the entire outcome of the injury. That's stupid. Yeah, it should be intent driven versus,
absolutely
results potentially. But anyway, I think let's move on. Pretty interesting. We've had this discussion in like the fifth game of preseason.
Where there's not supposed to be anything to talk about. It's just like, let's get the opener going. Let's get regular season going.
Yeah.
So probably on that note, let's kind of move into, I guess, more specific on Leaf lineup, potential roster decisions heading into opening night.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Leafs have had a little bit of a break. They were in Muskoka.
Long break. Jeez.
Yeah, between games. Yeah, too long.
So annoying.
Too long if you're a Leaf fan.
Classic.
But so they've had a Muskoka retreat that I believe they probably are back now from, because they have a game tomorrow night in Detroit. But they were on the ice today as well.
In Bracebridge, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's some footage of guys on the ice. There was some guys who were injured or still hurting from previous games, all back on the ice, which was encouraging. So John Tavares, Calle Yarncroke, our buddy Yanni Hakanpää, and Dewar, all those guys were actually on the ice, full practice. So I guess the good and bad of that is obviously good that everyone's healthy. Bad that now it's like, well, what the hell is going on? Because we still don't have any trades. We don't have any cuts yet. They have, I mean, I think they still have, not that they brought everyone to Bracebridge, but there's still a ton of bodies in camp.
I think they've returned a couple players. They've returned a few players OHL. Like, I saw Ben Danford was named the captain.
Danford, Noah Chadwick.
Yep, Chadwick went back. But Danford's
pretty sure there's still well over 50 guys.
Oh, yeah. I would say so, too.
Hanging around. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the set that we're going to talk about today. Like, who is on the cusp? Who's making it? What is smart for the team at this point? Because I think you and I both would have thought we'd maybe see in a trade materialize kind of.
Or two. Yeah.
Or two. Kind of before the start of regular season. But now we look at the clock. It's the 2nd of October. We have 7 days until that happens. So,
because like right now, even if they said, well, we don't want to trade anyone, we want to keep all of them. Well, you can't, because they're not cap compliant. You won't even be close to being cap compliant if you are planning to sign Max Pacioretty and Steven Lawrence to standard contracts. So that would put them way over. And it just stopped. Go.
Well, I'm just thinking that kind of handcuffs our team, right? Like, if we don't have a trade in the pipeline for Nick Robertson, Calle Yarncroke, like people like that, what do we do? Like, can we not sign Pacioretty? Can we not sign a Steven Lawrence?
So I just got to kind of, I guess, call you out on the clearing of the throat there on Nick Robertson. Because obviously
I like him. But go ahead.
Of the last 3 Maple Leaf goals, he is now for 90% of Leaf fans an automatic. You gotta play him, even play him on the second line. Like I thought before this, the whole Nick Robertson hype train had gotten way out of control. Yeah. But after that second game, especially against the Canadians, it's like, oh man, like Leaf fans like, oh, I was right about this guy. He's a 40-goal scorer and got to find a spot for him. And I'm like, yeah, like he's had a couple impressive games. I've actually liked that he's, I think the compete, the effort, the kind of willing to battle for pucks, a little bit more responsibility in the defensive zone, accountability. I have liked what I've seen from him. I just wouldn't go so far as to say that for the Leaf brass, that he is an automatic today in their opening night lineup. or that he would play a significant role, like a more significant role than he played last year. Because, you know what, should we bring up the lineup now? Just so as we're talking about
I think
players,
it's
we'll be able to have the visual.
Yes, I think so.
Okay. So hopefully this is clear. And I know for the audio audience, I'll try to talk through what we have up here. We just have the depth chart for the Maple Leafs, forward, D, and goalie, kind of basically making the assumptions on guys who actually have a legitimate chance to make the team. It's not everyone who remains in training camp. One guy I don't have on here is Hakanpää. And only reason I don't is I'm not convinced he will be available for opening night. Hoping I'm wrong, but it sounds like that would probably be a very obvious way that they can get cap compliant if they feel like, you know what, we could probably push him if we needed to and have him in the opening night lineup. But knowing that we need to reduce our cap hit here, he might be an obvious candidate for LTIR. You let him be on there for, I don't know, first 2 weeks of the season, and then see if maybe a trade can work out and open up a spot for him. So that's the only reason I don't have Hakanpää on there. So he obviously could get thrown right back into the mix if we hear by the end of this week even that, he's going to be ready to go. I just don't think he will be if I had to make a guess.
Yeah. No, we haven't heard any rumblings of him really joining a preseason roster.
And there was even the quote from Craig Berube today when he was asked about Hakanpää. Like, it wasn't the most confident in terms of, he's back. He's 100%. He's going to play 20 minutes on opening night. So didn't hear any of that. It sounded more like, we're happy he's back, but we're just not sure where he's at. We have to kind of still see throughout the week.
He's definitely skating, though. He's definitely skating.
So absolutely. Good. Totally a good sign.
So it's not, I mean, if it doesn't sound like months, it sounds more like weeks.
No. Yeah.
So that's good.
And to what I was saying, maybe he could get pushed into the opening night lineup. I just don't think they're in a position where they're going to feel a need to do that.
No, especially if we need to save on some cash. Okay.
You got it. And we absolutely do right now. So I guess starting with the forwards, and these are more lines that they've been utilizing so far in training camp and just kind of making assumptions on depth chart and potential opening night lineup. Looks like if they were starting tomorrow or whatever, you have a first line of Matthew Nyes, Austin Matthews, and Mitch Marner. Then you would have Bobby McMahon, center experiment still in progress. William Nylander.
Okay.
Well, him and Max Domi in the previous practice, they were kind of trading the center position. So I don't think it's a done deal that Nylander will be at center. But I think for right now, they'd probably at least want to let, through the media, let people think that they're still looking to do that. So I put him at center for now, but that could be swapped with Domi. So McMahon, Nylander, Domi. And then I do believe Max Pacioretty is going to be a part of this opening night lineup. They will sign him. So I have Pacioretty, John Tavares, and everyone's favorite kid, Nicholas Robertson. If they don't find a trade for Nicholas Robertson, I feel he would be there on the third line. And then, I think we lost you, Caroline. Or did we just lose the video?
I'm just getting a charger.
All right. Okay, as long as you're still there. So fourth line, I have, it looks like he's going to be healthy now. We got Connor Dewar, David Kampf, and Ryan Reeves. What that would do is put someone like Steven Lawrence, Holmberg, and Yarncroke potentially on the outside looking in. And that's where I think there has to be some sort of trade, because I think Holmberg and Lawrence have both shown that they might be deserving of a spot in the opening night lineup. And Yarncroke obviously has been a mainstay in the Leaf lineup, so tough to really view him as being on the outside looking in. So it feels, that's obviously right there. That's 15 forwards. And we're not even talking about Easton Cowan and Nikita Grebyankin, who were part of the Bracebridge team retreat. So they likely haven't made up their mind to send either of those guys, either Grebyankin to the Marlies, Cowan to London. So, yeah, just kind of saying, we got basically 15 forwards that probably all feel like they should be in the opening lineup. I would think most people would argue, they're capable enough. And then you add Cowan and Grebyankin. So to me, there's no way beyond, I'd say, I don't know, next Monday, Tuesday, that there can be at least 2 players traded, waived, sent down, right?
Yeah.
Do you have any, from anything that you've been reading, anything you see from here that probably deserves an adjustment, or anyone that I maybe am too high on, too low on?
What's your take on Steven Lorentz? We haven't seen a lot from him.
Yeah, I mean, he's only got into, I guess, the 2 preseason games, but I like him. I'd want him on the team. I would have to believe that all things being equal, they would want him on the team, that being the Leaf Brass Berube. I worry that unless they can get a trade done, Camp or Yarncroke or something, Nick Robertson, I don't know who he can take a spot from, because he doesn't have an NHL contract yet. So
I know.
He's one guy that's expendable based on that, but kind of like Pacioretty, I'd be hard pressed to not have both those guys in their top 12. But
so say we want Pacioretty, we want Lorentz, we're not able to concoct a trade. How are you going to manage the team so that you can keep all those forward assets?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is you don't really have, you could put guys on waivers. You can obviously, most of these guys would get claimed. Like if you were to put a Robertson on waivers, he's getting claimed. Camp for Yarncroke, I mean, I suppose you could, but I don't think they're getting claimed at that contract. So you're still going to have to eat it. So you're better off just making a really bad trade and not expecting to get anything back. And we've talked about it, to trade either one of those 2 guys, who I believe are the most likely to be dealt given their cap hit and probably lack of ROI, if you think about what they could possibly do for this team.
Cowan and Robertson? That's who you're saying?
No, sorry. Yarncroke and Camp. Just because they have that higher cap.
Sorry. I was not thinking Cowan when I said it. I was thinking Camp when I said it. No, I know we're not trading Cowan. Yes, got it.
No. You don't trade the Cowboy. Please don't trade the Cowboy.
I know.
But I mean, I don't know if Nick Robertson is out of the woods yet. The guy, I mean, we joked about it, how it's probably the worst ever holdout. You know, you say, trade me, and then you come back a week before training camp and say,
fine.
Really? Fine, I'll take the 1 year, $875K. I'll show you, So I think he could be traded, and maybe he was being showcased, and might be a good sell high window now. If there was ever a team that had a lukewarm interest, maybe seeing him score 3 goals against the Canadiens says, okay, I'll give you a 4th round pick.
I feel for Nick Robertson. He can't do anything right or wrong here. He asks for the trade, ready to leave. Nothing happens. We begrudgingly take him back, give him the spotlight. He gets 3 goals. We're now okay, let's hope this gets him out of here. Poor guy.
For sure. Well, it's tough because, and I think it's obviously, self-inflicted in terms of his approach to it.
Yeah.
The fact that he either, I don't know if he changed his mind or his agent told him, you got to show up to camp, because if we don't have a trade for you, you're not going to be getting people hounding down Tree Living's door for you if you're not even on the ice.
Yeah.
So, but then also the Maple Leafs clearly showed that he wasn't a part of their plans when they brought in Pacioretty.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then Berube was talking about how he likes Grebyankin. He said, good personality, likes the way he plays. So you've got 17 forwards here. Yeah, 4 of them, if we say Cowan, Gribyankin, Lawrence, Pacioretty, don't currently have contracts that you can't obviously either bypass in terms of the Cowan and Gribyankin, because you just move, you push off their ELC hit, their entry level hit, so you're okay there. Pacioretty and Lawrence, you just say thanks, but no thanks. So, I mean, you could be at a spot where you've only got 13 forwards, but that assumes that they don't want to sign Pacioretty and Lawrence. So I've said a lot to say absolutely nothing. We have no idea what's going on. Or I don't.
So true. Literally, we could have talked about this in circles for another hour and we still would have no idea. It's so interesting. It's like, did we pick up these PTOs as like a deflection? Or like, are we trying to like raise more interest for Robertson by having all these guys? Like, I wonder what our true intentions are or what we really wanted before this like blueprint came to be with our forward squad. And like, who knows what we really want here, but we can't have it all.
No, no. I mean, you can't play 15 forwards. They won't allow it. They won't allow it.
No.
Yeah. And I think what will be interesting is obviously at some point tomorrow morning, we're going to see what the lineup is for the game tomorrow night against Detroit.
I think we know we're going to send tomorrow's lineup. Like, it's in Detroit before our last preseason game at home on Saturday. We're not going to field. I would bet hard against the Leafs tomorrow night. We're going to give the shittiest
it's going to be
like
all
Robertson's going to be probably on the
It's going to be all these fringe guys that we're talking about, like 100% Robertson, Cowan, Lawrence, Pacioretty. You give like Dewar a game if he's ready, just to give him a little bit of
hopefully he's ready.
Warm up heading into the season. But yeah, it's going to be, on D, it's going to be the Timmins, Rafai again. Like, those guys will get some minutes. Not expecting Wool or even Stolars tomorrow. So
it's like Matt Murray, Hildeby.
Could be. Well, it's also like, I mean, I would think coming back from Bracebridge tonight would probably be a little bit tough for Berube to go to like Nylander, Tavares, Ryan Reeves, Jake McCabe, and say, hey, you okay? You going to hop on a bird and play tomorrow night? They're probably all just like, absolutely just dragging their tail right now, coming back from that trip. Who knows what happened there?
Apparently,
so I don't think
it was
any
a
of the vets
lower
will play.
booze trip. Like, it's still a professional work trip.
Very low key, huh?
I don't think it was extremely low key, but I can't imagine. Like, just first of all, there's not a whole lot of bars available to go to in Muskoka.
No, but I don't think they would have had to necessarily go very far. Like, even what on the ground, whatever in
just all of
Bracebridge
the boys
Inn they were staying at. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they could have found some fun wherever they're staying. But like, I
mean,
feel
it
like
would not surprise me.
wasn't...
Like for sure, John Tavares, he was definitely in bed by 8. He was in bed by 8.
8:30, 8:45 max.
Yeah, maybe in bed at 8. He would read a book until 8:30. But 8:30,
he's probably
lights out
watching.
for JT.
He's probably watching that Nobody Wants This show. Like, everybody has been.
Yeah, for sure.
Have you watched? Definitely,
guy.
Tavares is watching that. So is Mitch. I think you should watch that too, Josh.
I've heard good things. I might check it out. Okay.
I've never enjoyed a Netflix show so much that I didn't think I was gonna love. Like, I know shows I'm gonna love, like the monsters things, like any true crime, but like somehow millennial women are hardwired, like programmed for Adam Brody and like a rom-com.
Of course, for sure.
I know this is totally off base for our podcast.
No, it's very on topic. Very on topic. It was perfect segue when we talked about Tavares kind of pulling the chute a little bit early on the boys' trip. But
he was. You betcha he was. He probably loves that he's not the captain anymore, so he doesn't need to be like, boys. Like, next morning we're doing this.
Well, and then because he is the captain, do we think Austin Matthews turned in early?
I think.
Like, is he trying to set an example?
I bet you Mitch is the most fun at weekends like this. Like, younger guys, Mitch, Max.
Yeah, for sure. Domi. The last guy in bed is Ryan Reeves, 100%.
Yeah, probably. I could see that for
100%. He
sure.
just looks like the most fun guy and the life of the party.
And Bertuzzi
and if
did,
he's not,
and Max
Bertuzzi would have
Domi
been good
did.
too. I think Nyes would probably be a guy who's hanging around on the
I think so
picnic
too.
tables till late at night.
I think the Gerbikin, the new guy, the fighter.
Yeah, I heard good things about him. He was the life of the party too.
You know his first name is Gerbikin, right? That's his first name?
No.
Yeah, it is.
His first name is Nikita.
No, I thought that was his last name.
No, it's Nikita Grabyankin.
Okay, that's why they have... Okay, something I was reading today was backwards, but I was like,
fake
what an
news.
interesting...
Fake news, Caroline.
Fake news. Okay. Yeah, no, Nikita is a much more reasonable first name. He looks really fun. Who else looks fun? Obviously, like Jake McCabe's getting older. Stolarz looks
has a
fun.
good personality. Yeah.
Yeah. Stolarz, McCabe a little older. But Benoit, super fun guy.
Yeah, Simone Benoit. He just recently had a kid, so he probably is really enjoying. It's probably really good timing for him to be around an infant, so he's probably just doing it up really good right now.
I would,
or at least when they were there, yeah.
I would say Matthews. I'm gonna revise my statement. I don't think he was that fun on this trip.
No,
he doesn't care for Muskoka. Like
Okay, so you know we have to do, because we can't just leave this topic, because I think it deserves more attention. Give me your ranking 1 to 3, top 3 Maple Leaf players you would want to have a drink with.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Okay.
Could be the most casual environment, just shooting the breeze with these 3 Leaf players. Who would it be?
Okay, you're compiling your list too.
In my mind right now, yep.
Well, I have so many questions for Mitch, so he's going to be on the list. Obviously.
Yeah, but he won't answer any of them. He'll be like, Caroline, I'm not here to talk about my contract. All you got to know is I love it in Toronto.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I would be so angry at those responses. I don't think Matthews would say anything valuable, anything interesting in a chat. I don't think a lot of them would say anything very interesting.
Wow.
I would like to have a drink with Willie, because I think he'd be real and chill, and he might speak some truth. So, so far I've said Mitch, Willie, and oh my God, I don't know, Berube, probably. What about you?
Oh, you're going with the chief. You're going to bring the coach over for a drink. Okay.
Yeah, everyone else is pretty boring, to be honest.
Wow. Yeah, for me, I would go, I'd have Revo at the top. He just seems like the absolute class clown and just a fun guy. I would love to kind of have a chat with him over a beer or 9. So I would go Revo. I'd probably... I'd probably have Nylander in there. I don't know if he would be second.
Nice.
I kind of get a good vibe with Steven Lawrence. I think he's got a really good personality on him. Just like, probably a fun guy to sit and have a drink with.
You can't choose our PTO guy for this Leafs question.
Well, I thought we were looking at the page here, the depth chart, and anything goes here. You can pick any guy here. So, I mean, if you want to just make up rules all of a sudden.
No, I don't have rules, but I just think like you and I, we're deep Leaf fans. Like we think we deeply know these men.
Right.
We can't go picking off like Anthony Stolarz. Like
there. Okay, so you think Steven Lorentz is too
Steven Lorentz,
too outside the box.
What about a Joseph Woll? What about a Joseph Woll? Would you sit down with him?
Well, he's probably one of the smarter players, so I'm not sure if that would make him as fun. Like he'd probably be like starting to talk like about all these like philosophical things. And so what do you think the meaning of life is, And that's not the conversation I want to have. I mean, I know it usually gets there for people when they're in that drunken state, but if I'm like barely hanging on, if I'm barely hanging on to my chair or the table, I don't want someone saying like, yeah, have you ever thought about like if you could change one thing about your life? Like, I hate people who, when they're drunk, talk like that. Like, no, I don't want to talk about that. I can't focus. I can't even grip the glass right now. I don't want to answer that kind of question.
That's a wild line of questioning.
Oh, actually, sorry. You know what? I totally missed Max Domi. So I would go Revo, Domi, and I think I would go Austin Matthews. I would go Austin Matthews. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I feel what we get when he kind of talks to the media is probably not a very good representation of who he is. Whereas I feel like someone like John Tavares, I don't think there's any more there. There's nothing more there. I'm convinced.
Yeah.
Whereas Austin Matthews, he's probably just being like, okay, I got to put on, the right face, the right, kind of mental focus to answer these questions.
I'm captain. I'm captain.
Yeah. Well, even before the captaincy, I think he's always been that, Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid type of answers. Like, we just got to keep pressing and, it's a team game. We got to, all that garbage that you don't want to hear.
It's kind of funny. Like, aside from Revo, we didn't touch any defensemen. Like, I'm kind of thinking
Talk about it, you mean?
Yeah, like we didn't even throw around having a drink with Mo. Or like
Mo, Mo would be okay. He wouldn't be that
Mo's
far
like a
down for me.
Yeah. He's not high up for me at all. But like we did kind of look, we gave looks to the first line, the second line, the third line, fourth line guys. We didn't really, take a look at the first, second line guys.
I think Jake McCabe could be
but we don't know enough about him. Like,
right.
We do.
Right.
We might re-sign him, sounds like.
Yeah, that's a good place to go. We have, the reports that Jake McCabe might be close to signing an extension. Some of the numbers that were reported, a little bit worried or concerning. I like the player, but I think from either Frank Saravelli or Elliot Friedman, they were talking potentially like a 6-year deal at like 5 to 5.25 AAV.
Jesus.
Yeah. I'm more okay with the $5 million, very much not okay with the 6 years for a 30-year-old defenseman who kind of gets hurt every year. That's not going to change when he's 34.
And we're not paying him anywhere near like that right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, to me, I just don't like the idea of, looking at our D 3 years from now, and Tanev, McCabe, and Riley
and
are our 3 best D. Like, I would hope you move on from, obviously not Tanev. He's recently signed, and Riley would be hard to move on from. But if you want to upgrade to D, I think McCabe is really your only out in terms of trying to upgrade. So if you thought someone in free agency could help you more than McCabe, then maybe you don't sign McCabe right now. But it sounds like they might.
Yeah, they've gotten so comfortable with like a pretty subpar D core that we're like ready to lock in this group that people are like, okay, we're doing pretty well.
100%. Like, I just don't get the urgency. Like, especially a guy like Jake McCabe. Like, I like the guy, but he's been playing, above his weight, in terms of the role he's in, the, I guess, the perception of him as a shutdown blue liner. He is not that, especially if you view yourself as a cup contender. Jake McCabe would not be a guy that you would say, we won that cup. Thank God Jake McCabe played 25 minutes in that game 7. Like, no, he's not that guy. So I would worry about an extension like that right now.
Well, I worry about these talks that we're like going to give Matthew Knies $6 million starting next year off his ECL.
Yeah. Well, it depends on what you. It is. Yeah. And I think the tough part of the conversation with Matthew Knies is you do a shorter term contract that will probably make it easier to figure out, that in terms of the negotiation, easier to find that sort of middle ground because you're like, like 2
years, $5 million or something, 2 years, $4 million.
Anything even up to 4 years, you could still kind of call
Yep.
that somewhat
Yep,
shorter
that's
term, a
short.
bridge.
Yeah.
But if you go 8 years, I think you're going to have to put in like a massive number. I mean, obviously not massive relative to what
random,
Matthews, Nylander, Marner, and Tavares are at, but
Yeah.
Nye's coming off his ELC and scoring 15 goals. You start talking about 6 or 7 mil per for him. To me, that's way too much. But
me too.
Nyes probably won't. I don't think his agent would encourage him to lock into an 8-year
bridge.
deal at like 4 mil.
No.
So if you want to keep the AAV down, you probably have to go bridge, because if you want him for 8 years, you're going to have to pay up a lot more, obviously. But are you prepared to give him 7 mil based on what you're projecting him to be, which I would say coming off his 35-point year,
15
saying
goals,
he's going to be worth, saying he's going to be worth 7 mil per right now seems like maybe the ceiling, but probably a little bit aggressive.
But like, again, he's playing on a line with Matthews and Marner. Like,
he is for now. Yeah.
For us to think he's going to have a bad season is probably not correct. Anywhere he lands on the first or second line,
Agreed.
I just don't think that we should be. It's in his best interest, probably, to sign. I don't know, mid-late season.
If you're his agent and Brad Tree Living has come to you and said, "Yeah, we really like your client. We want to make Matthew a Leaf for a long time.
Yeah,
we've got 2 options for you. We can give you an 8-year at 5.75 AAV, or we'd be open to doing a 4-year deal at 3.25.
I'm taking the second deal every day.
4-year 3.25.
Yeah, he's just going to go into free market after that. If he wants to stay at the Leafs, he can. We still have all of our big guys under contract. Matthews, Willie. Hopefully not
That's
Mitch.
It. Well, Say what? Yeah. No, I agree. Hopefully
not.
I
just don't know why, like, before we know what this player is going to turn into, why we did sign him in for 8 years at this point, really.
Yeah, like I tend to agree. I'd give him 8 years if he'd take like 5 mil or less, but I think he'd be dumb to do that.
I guess.
Like I'm not trying to ruin any Maple Leaf negotiation power. Not that I could, but it just feels like if Nyes and his agent are saying, okay, if we are playing on the first line with Matthews and Marner, like he's worn the A in a couple of the preseason games. So it feels like he's in Berube's good books, I would say.
Yeah.
So it feels like he'll get opportunity.
Yeah.
I would think almost any hockey player would bet on themselves and say, I'm going to go out there and get 25 goals this year. So I don't want to take a 4-year 3.25 AAV, because if I do get 25 goals, 55 points, I've just cost myself probably a mil or 2 per year.
Yeah.
Easily. So I don't know. Like, I don't know what his preference would be. I would think probably the bridge, because you take 8 years at under 6 mil, and then you go out and score 25 goals, you will be kicking yourself for 8 years instead of 4 or 3.
Yeah.
It's tough.
I think that he probably wants to see things through with this group that he's been drafted to. You know, we're being touted as one of the like cup contenders, whatever we have been for the last couple of years. This is not a bad group to develop with, blah, blah, blah. You got
and I think it's also tough. The guy's, he's still, it's crazy to think he's still only 21 years old, or maybe turning 22.
I think he's 22. Yeah. But
he is 22 already.
Yeah.
So for a guy like that, and obviously that's why players have agents, because like if the Leafs were to say, hey, we can give you 3 years at 2 mil per, Nige would be like, I can make $2 million next year. I'm signing. Whereas the agent's probably going to be like, no. That is not where we want to be. That is a lowball offer. We're going to wait it out. And
Damn.
I don't suspect the Leafs would be offering him only $2 million, of course, but it just like, I think when you're obviously a young player like that, the temptation would be like, just find me a way to get this contract done. You know, like I've heard, when I talk to whether it's players on my team or whatever, I recognize that the average career for an NHL player isn't necessarily going to be 8, 10 plus years. So let me get my money now. But the agent's going to be like, look, man, you just go out there, score 25 goals. The money will be there. Just be patient.
Yeah.
But then you also, as a Leaf fan, kind of projecting for next year, if you give Nye, say, $5 or $6 million, and you give McCabe $5 million.
Oh my God, I hope not, but yeah. Okay.
Then you absolutely cannot re-sign Marner. And then maybe you can't even like re-up John Tavares unless it's like a true friendly contract. So it's almost like, yeah, obviously Nyes, McCabe, you want to keep them around. I don't think you want to lose either of them if the price is right. But everyone keeps saying, yeah, re-sign Mitch because the cap is going up. Well, you're going to have, right now you already have the new Matthews and Nylander higher AAV on the books. Next year, Wool's new contract at 3.25 on the books. If you also have McCabe and Nyes, you've just eaten up all that increased cap room. And then you're just going to
potential.
Yeah. It's just going to be the exact same team.
Yep. Pretty much. That's why we can't re-sign Marner.
Exactly.
The more and more I listen to his highlights, I like watch him. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's so good. But we have to remember
don't get duped. Don't get duped, Caroline.
I am getting duped. I'm forgetting. We're at the beginning of the season, not the end of the season.
Yeah, like I get it. Some Leaf fans have that whole thing. You don't trade talented players. So Mitch Marner's a talented player. Don't trade him. But you can't keep doing that. You can't keep saying we got to hold on to everybody who's a productive player or talented player. Like, I get it. You'd obviously prefer to keep all your good players, especially if you can't win a trade by moving them. But if you're not able to trade them, you have to be open to just clearing the cap space and moving on and replacing him with maybe different types of players, elements that you're lacking, more forward depth, upgraded D. Like, I can't see it any other way. Like, I can't see bringing back Mitch Marner at anywhere of the range it has been reported for what his asking price would be. I just can't foresee a scenario where that would make sense to me.
And it kind of, with that in mind, the fact that they keep giving him the A over players like Willie Nylander, over players like, potentially.
You want Willie Styles to be an assistant
Not really,
captain, eh?
but I don't see like what more leadership a Mitch Marner brings.
Oh, agreed.
I wouldn't mind a guy like a Matty Nyes getting the A more consistently than a Mitch Marner. Like,
if you're putting an A on him permanently, then it is $6 or $7 million.
That's true. Yeah,
you're just helping his agent. True. Oh, you think I'm an assistant captain already? Okay.
Well, yeah.
Show me that fat number. Yeah.
Anyway, but definitely interesting to look at the Leafs today and think about how it'll look in a week, because there's going to be some big changes.
Well, you would think. But we've been saying that for a long time.
There's going to be changes. There has to be.
Yeah, there has to be. It just might not be like the Yarncroke, Robertson, Camp move. It might just be, Holmberg's gone here, and Dewar or whoever, he's starting out on LTIR, and Hakanpaa's LTIR. So we're figuring it out as the season goes.
And then Lorentz maybe no more.
I don't want to think about that, but it has to be considered a possibility.
It has to be. Pacioretty, a real Leaf. There are some big, decisions that it's not just going to weigh on what our roster is, our lineup is opening night. It's literally going to be impactful for some of these guys' seasons.
Yeah, And yeah, I mean, we talked about most of like the veteran players or guys who were with the team last few years. Where are they going to fit in now? But we talked about Cowan and Grebyankin are still hanging around. So is Berube keeping them just so they kind of, get the exposure to, being on the team, practicing with the vets, and it's kind of a good development for them? Or are they truly like, we haven't made up our mind? I'm not convinced that, talking as Berube, I'm not convinced that Cowan doesn't deserve to be on the team or Grebyankin. But has Brad Treliving told him, hey, if you want Cowan and or Grebyankin on the team, I have a deal that can open up a spot. Like, it almost feels like they might still be at that point where that is even an option, which is kind of wild.
It is pretty wild that there's so many moving parts, 7 days to go. I know that continues to be a theme, but I think we both thought we would know a lot more hard answers at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if there's a trade, who's going to be signed, blah, blah, blah. And
well, yeah, because we are probably well aware that it's the opener next Wednesday. Perhaps Brad Treliving does not know that. I don't know.
And then we don't have a
perhaps
home
that's
opener.
why he's like, wait, I don't know. We're playing October 9th. That's the opener. Oh, geez, I got to call some of these GMs back and make a trade.
I gotta do this.
Yeah, I've been procrastinating big time.
And you've probably noticed because you have some tickets, but the season, like the October, a little light in Toronto. We're on the road a lot at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, well, first 2 games are on the road.
Yep.
And then, but how about, I mean, we're obviously talk more about it next week, but how about that home opener, Sid the Kid,
Pittsburgh,
Kyle
random.
Dubas in town for the opener?
Yeah.
That's going to be a fun one. That
I
will be
agree,
fun.
but like sort
Michael
of random.
Bunting.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's fun. But that was one of the games that I really tried to go to. Love some Sid the Kid. Love the Kyle Dubas drama.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It didn't pan out for you? You're not going to be in the arena for the opener?
Well, I kind of had that or Saturday, November 16th against the Oilers. So
yep.
I took that one.
Well, yeah, it's the Canadiens November 9th, Oilers 16th. Those are 2 beautiful Saturday night games. That's a great schedule there.
Yeah.
Probably the 2 hottest tickets in the whole year outside of the opener.
The Saturday against the Habs, you think so too?
Yeah. Yeah, it's still the Habs.
No, it's still the Habs.
Like even the preseason game I went to, like it was probably, I wouldn't say it was half Habs fans, but I would say a good 30-40% of the people in that arena were Habs fans. Yeah. So I'd ramp that up for the opener, especially, or not the opener, the November 9th game. Yeah. Because it's a Saturday. So people will travel to come in for the game for sure. Yeah. So that's going to be a great one too. Always is.
I went anyway. Yes, that sounds like a good wrap. We'll be around before. We'll be back on before the final. Oh no, we won't.
Our next episode, and I think we'll have to talk offline just in terms of what our schedule look like, because I think just for the audience, we'll probably be looking to maybe do a transition to more post-game shows. So we'll see how that works out. I don't think either of us would be very interested in coming on here at 9 p.m. next week when it's the 3rd period of a 2-2 game. So, and I don't think too many of the audience would be attending if we did it at that time. Yeah. So we'll have to have a brainstorming session, figure something out, and we will let the audience know.
Yeah, we'll keep you posted.
All right. All right, everyone. Appreciate everyone who attended. Thank you very much. Please don't hesitate to drop us a comment on the YouTube, any of our videos. Give us your feedback. Let us know how we're doing. And you can obviously, again, find the audio version on Spotify and then YouTube as well. You can do just an audio. Yeah. Okay.
You can download the audio if you have premium, or you can download the entire content. But
right.
Find us on Spotify.
That's what you should do.
YouTube. Yeah.
Perfect. All right, folks. Enjoy the final 2 preseason games. Hopefully, when we chat next week, where I have a much better idea of who will be representing the Maple Leaf squad opening night. Until next time, have a good one.
Go Leafs, go.
Go Leafs, go indeed.